So yeah, do you want to start with that?
My name's Sienna. I just turned 17 in January and I'm in year 12.
Sienna has a part-time job in retail. Her favourite subject is legal studies and she has 2 dogs.
Winnie, she's a Groodle. I also have a Golden Retriever, Maggie. I wish we could have like dogs here, but we obviously can't, which fair enough because it would be absolute chaos. But yeah, I love my dogs.
She also lives in youth homelessness accommodation.
Kind of just felt like I lost everything in a way because like I lost where I was living, I lost those kind of connections and I didn't really feel like I had a lot of support. That stigma comes that a kid did something bad to be homeless, which they can never do no matter what happened because they're still so young.
Sienna isn't alone in her experience of homelessness. The Australian Institute of Health and Welfare found from 2023 to 2024, almost 40,000 young people sought help from homelessness services.
Many people think of homelessness as living on the streets, but there are actually lots of different kinds of homelessness that young people can experience.
Corinne Moffat is a co-CEO of the Foyer Foundation, an organisation that supports young people experiencing or at risk of homelessness.
Some young people experience homelessness might be staying on a friend's couch, they might be living in crisis accommodation, they might be sleeping in a car, or in some cases they might be living in housing with too many people that are living there.
Homelessness is more than just about having a roof over your head, right?
And this is Ryan Bullivant, the service manager at Youth 110, which provides young people with accommodation, support services and pathways for employment and education.
And housing insecurity certainly means people are in situations and circumstances where their housing is unsafe, it's not secure and it's not adequate for their needs as well.
Both Corinne and Ryan say the recent statistics point to a youth homelessness crisis in Australia.
The latest census in 2021 shows that a quarter of all people who are experiencing homelessness in Australia are young people. So that's roughly about 28,000 people who are aged between 12 and 25 identify as being homeless.
And there is a whole range of complex issues that can lead to a young person becoming homeless.
And that can be housing insecurity, family breakdown, overcrowding, or facing eviction, mental health, substance abuse, family and domestic violence.
What we know in Australia at the moment is housing is very expensive. And so, for example, a young person that receives their income from the government through something called youth allowance, at the moment, there are no rentals anywhere in the country that are affordable for a young person earning that amount. Housing affordability is a really big problem.
What got to me living here, it was honestly like chaos. So when I left my mum's house, that wasn't by choice. There was like police involvement, and then I went to live with my biological father and I couldn't stay there. And I was actually staying with my family friend at the time. She was amazing, but she had 2 other kids as well. And I was kind of just staying with just kind of different people, like my siblings' friends or like my friends, and that wasn't the best situation.
So at 16, Sienna reached out to homelessness services and made her way into emergency housing.
Every day would be different because I did not know where I was living each night. So I was like having to pack all my things in the morning to get prepared to leave. Each day they would kind of text me at about 3 p.m. to tell me if I still had the bed, which obviously I was at school at the time, so I would kind of like wait all day and then I wasn't focusing at school. This sounds very dramatic, but it was kind of like this existential dread because I didn't know where I was going, and that uncertainty was definitely getting to me in my day-to-day. I would like dread sometimes like leaving my apartment because I was like, what if I come back and they tell me that I have to leave, which they don't do, by the way, but it was just like this kind of sense that I had that could happen. So that was very challenging.
New analysis from the Foyer Foundation has identified the 20 toughest places for young people to find stable housing in Australia. In these hotspots alone, there are 17,000 young people who are struggling to find a place to live. And alongside this, these are also areas where it's tough to land a job and finish school.
Those 3 things are very connected. education, employment, and homelessness. And they're really, for some young people, there's a bit of a vicious cycle. If you don't have safe and stable housing, it's hard to finish school. If you don't finish school, it's hard to get and keep a good job. If you don't have a good job as a result of finishing school, it's hard to afford safe and stable housing.
My school that I attend in person twice a week, and I do the rest of my lessons online luckily, but it is an hour and a half away by public transport, probably much faster by car, but I take the bus. Getting that kind of motivation and then knowing that it's going to take me 3 hours each time I go total kind of just is difficult because I don't have anyone really forcing me to go every day. And then I think also a lot of the time there's kind of shame around telling teachers your situation, and that can be really difficult. But for quite a long time I didn't really tell anyone until it got to a point where I kind of had to because of that kind of internal shame I was feeling. So I think that that really impacted my quality of education. I lost so many friends at the time. I was just at a different stage of life as most 16, 17-year-olds, and I found it really difficult to connect with other people my age. There would be some people who would kind of romanticize it in a very weird way. They'd be like, oh, I wish I could not have anyone taking responsibility of me, or I wish I could do what I want, or I wish I could just leave this house, when they were in safe, loving homes.
At the moment, the Australian government says it's providing $9.3 billion to state and territory governments to help people experiencing or at risk of homelessness, and to support Australia's social housing and homelessness services sector. The National Housing Infrastructure Facility has also received an additional $1 billion in federal funding to support crisis and transitional accommodation for women and children experiencing domestic violence, and for youth experiencing or at risk of homelessness. It also says it's investing almost $92 million into youth homelessness prevention services through the Reconnect program, a community-based early intervention and prevention program. But advocates and experts say there is a whole lot more to be done to combat the youth homelessness crisis.
Homelessness is a really complicated issue. It needs to be an approach where government, non-for-profit organisations and community come together. So having strategies in place that creates more affordable housing for young people certainly would help. Greater pathways for education and employment, and the necessary things that young people need in their lives to have successful futures.
Since being accepted into longer-term accommodation 6 months ago, Sienna says she feels a lot calmer knowing she can come back to the same place every night.
I was obviously very, very lucky to get in here, and I'm not negating that at all. But I think I still definitely have moments where I am overthinking about what's going to happen, or that I'm going to have to leave in so and so months. I would say I wish people knew that anyone could end up homeless, and then accepting that if it can happen to you, don't treat people a different way because of it.